television.
Hi, welcome to Airplay. Tonight's program is another look behind the scenes. Watching the curtain fall was the lovely music of Joe Eisen. And we're behind the scenes again. And this time we're even deeper behind the scenes because we have a playwright and a director of next week's program. We're doing our special segment, our sister program, literally sister program, Determined Women. And we have a couple of really very talented and determined women here with us tonight. And I'm going to talk to them, and you're going to learn more about them before we see their work next week. First off is the playwright, Cindy Cooper. Cindy is an award-winning playwright, journalist, and author. Her plays have been produced in New York at Primary Stages, The Women's Project, Wings, Museum of Tolerance, Art and Work Ensemble, New Circle Theater Company, and elsewhere, and in Chicago, Minneapolis, LA, Montreal, Jerusalem, Budapest, and more. Reviews of Running on Glass last year called the writing extraordinary and said storytelling is indeed the mode of Cooper's script. Cindy has won awards from Pen and Brush, the Samuel French Play Festival, Malibu International, and is a 2-time Jerome Fellow. She is also the author of 8 books, including Mockery of Justice, made into a CBS TV movie. Her articles have appeared in Ms., The Nation, Glamour, National Law Journal, and more. She lives in New York City. You can read more about her at her website, CYNCOOPER writer, CinCooperWriter.net. So let me talk to Cindy first. Then we'll meet her director.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to her. Hi, Cindy.
Hello, how are you? Lisa Pelikan is my director.
Yeah, we'll talk to Lisa Pelikan very soon. And yeah, she's here with us tonight as well. But let's talk to you first and just see how you got into this world of theater. People always want to know, how did you become a writer? How did it happen? Was it always with you, or?
Okay. Well, I actually always did want to be a writer, but I never thought I kind of became a playwright by accident. But I always wanted to be a journalist and be an author, but I was really focused on journalism. I was like a high school journalism nerd. And I actually worked as a reporter while I was going to college. I went to college at night and worked as a reporter in the day. And I somehow, somewhere along the way, there's an activist part of me that wanted to do more than just report on things. And I became a lawyer. And I did work for a while, work as a lawyer, mostly in programs to help poor people. And then I went back to journalism, and I took 1 year off, and a friend of mine convinced me to take a playwriting class. And it suddenly opened up. This was in Minneapolis at the Playwright Center. It opened up a whole new world to me. I had never even thought about it before that. And I ended up getting a Jerome Fellow there at the Playwright Center. And I fell into playwriting, and I never left.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, it kind of just hits you. People say you get bit by the bug. Well, playwrights are the same. The characters just start inhabiting your life, right? It's very cool.
The character.
Exactly when and how did you realize this was your passion? Because I know you're a very passionate playwright and such a exciting activist. I mean, you really do walk the talk. So tell me, when exactly did it happen that you said, yeah, this is my passion?
I think I was really attracted to the idea that you could tell a story in lots of different ways. And I actually came to playwriting having been just worked before that as an investigative journalist in television, a producer of investigative series. And you do a kind of a month or two of work and come down to about minutes. And so there was all this unexplored territory and ways, information like I wanted to engage people with that I felt was important. And in the theater, I found like there was an opportunity to like actually talk to people and to open their minds and to get them to think about things in different ways and to write in different ways as well. So was able to explore lots of different styles of writing. And then I think the second thing is the activist part of me is I firmly believe that theater is one of the few areas where you can actually maybe change someone's mind, that people can actually be transformed. And when you write an article, maybe even a book, no matter how well it's done, I don't know that it changes people. But when you get people in a room and they can sit with a character and live through that person's life vicariously and think about their own experiences, I think people can actually come away with a different idea than they went in. And that to me is probably the thing that keeps, me coming back to theater again and again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You remind me, I did an interview a few years ago with the late, great Judith Malina, and she always did street theater all the time, right? And every year she would do a play about the death penalty, and she would do it right in the middle of Times Square, and she'd get arrested, just enough time so they could perform the play. And I said, why do you do that? I mean, why do you, and they would pay the fine, and that they would just do what they do. And she said, because somebody somewhere is transformed. When we're doing this project and we are doing this play, we're affecting people's sorry, I just had an interruption on my screen and it's not going away. Please bear with me. Live theater, right? Theater cell went off. Anyhow, I did turn it off, but it comes up on the screen. She said because they would do the play and somebody would go home and say to their family, they'll be eating dinner and say, I'm late tonight because these stupid theater people were in the way in the street, and they were doing a play about the death penalty. And she actually did the play about an actual person going to the death penalty. She would interview their family, and they would do exactly at the same time. And she said that somebody's kid somewhere would say, "Dad, what's the death penalty?" And it would transform them. And then they would see what a play was. And then, you know what I'm saying? So you're absolutely
exactly.
right, because it is transformative and it makes the greatest change in the world. So, okay, so I know you don't like to give advice. You say you don't like to give it, but if you had to like advise somebody, and I know you are so inspirational and so supportive of other artists, young, old, anybody, and it's wonderful. I mean, I see you everywhere, right? So just give me a little bit of advice. What is your, I know your reason for it, but if you had to like advise somebody, what would you tell them? Somebody new on the scene.
Well, as you said, I don't like to give people advice. I know. But I can describe my experience. And my experience is I had to learn a lot about theater. And I came to it from a point of view, philosophy and activism. I learned the most by watching plays, by going to all kinds of different readings, by thinking about them, by thinking about what worked and what didn't work. And I actually feel like I learned more about theater from plays that don't work for one reason or another. It's easy to see what's wrong. But if something is working beautifully and you're transported by it, it's really hard to like say, oh, they did this at that moment, Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. I think the other thing for playwrights, but probably all people in theater, it's really easy to compare yourself to other people and to feel bad that you haven't done, what somebody else has done, or you didn't get such a role, or you didn't get such a production. And so my other thing is like just, for people to remember that they're on their own journey. and to find their joy or their issues within that, and not to compare themselves to other people. So that lets them be true to themselves, and sometimes that leads them deeper in the theater, and sometimes it doesn't. But it's really miserable when you're constantly like trying to see, how other people are doing.
Absolutely.
And then the third thing I would say is that people should give back. I mean, it doesn't matter what level of theater you're in or at, even high school students and college students. It's like such a gift and such a talent and privilege that people should be able to give back to their community, to their to other people who are struggling, and to find a way to do that. And I think that's like really should be like a really integral part of theater, to give back to other people.
Absolutely. And you are certainly a giver. And with all your education and all, so many people say, I don't have time. Oh, I wish I could do that. And it's like, oh, you're doing your passion. And it's like, you're missing the point, So thank you for always giving back. Everyone knows this in the industry, that you are really a giving person. So just to give us one last glimpse into your past, into what made Cindy Cooper the writer she is, just fondest memory.
My fondest theater memory. So I talk about, I know like you go to lots of hear other people apartments, and I hear other playwrights talk about, they put up all their posters and all their shows, and it's kind of fun to see. I don't do that, but I have one thing up, and I'll get back to this. So the thing I like the most about the theater is the ability to commune with audiences, see how audiences are reacting, how they're enjoying things. When somebody walks out and says that they got something, however big or little, out of a piece of theater, I feel fantastic about it. And there's a moment in Lily Tomlin's Signs of an Incredible Life in the Universe, which was written by King Wagner. Yeah. Where these aliens go into a theater and they, talk about the goosebump moment. And the Lily Tomlin character says, oh, yeah, it's great, like when the stars are on stage and the light. And they're like, no, the audience gave us goosebumps because they were all reacting, together in the same way.
Absolutely.
So my thing is, the thing I have on the wall is from a high school in the West that did one of my plays, and couldn't see it. It was before Zoom, but what they sent me was they took a picture of like the entire theater department and maybe half the school, I don't know, and they're holding up placards that say the letters thanks, and that just is so meaningful to me, that they took the time to do that, and that they felt that they got something out of the work. So that's
Absolutely. It's the creative process. And I think, and I've taught theater with little kids, and I've taught college, and especially students. When students transform right before your eyes, you feel something magical is happening right in front of you, so it's very cool.
Yeah.
So thank you, Cindy Cooper.
Thank you.
We're going to talk with some more, but first we're going to interview your director. Hi, Lisa Pelikan. How are you?
Hi, Coni.
Wonderful to meet you tonight. And let me tell the world a little bit about you. Lisa Pelikan recently directed Cindy Cooper's Heaven Sent. She also directed Ed Valentine's Walk with Bright Candles, Christopher Goutman's For Your Love, and Laurie Goodman's New Lease with the New Circle Theater Company. With the Ensemble Studio Theater, she directed Julia Specht, Our Love Story is Not Very Interesting. She received the ADA Best Director Award for her direction of Night Mother, which both her actors were nominated, and one received the Best Actress Award with the Interact Theater Company. As an actor, Lisa made her feature film debut as the young Julia in Fred Zinnemann's Julia, sharing the title role with Vanessa Redgrave. Her television debut as the ingenue in the Hallmark Hall of Fame production of The Country Girl with Jason Robards and Shirley Knight, and her theatrical debut starring Vendla. Her theatrical debut starring as Vendla in Spring's Awakening with the Circle Repertory Theater in New York City. Lisa also starred in the world premieres of Panache, winning the ADA Award for Best Actress in a Comedy, Jim Leonard's The Diviners, and Arthur Miller's The American Clock. If you have further curiosities or need a really good director, Lisa's career can be visited at her website, Lisa Pelikan, Pelikan, which will also be on the website.com. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you.
Sure. Tell us how you ended up in this field. What brought you into the industry? You've done a lot. You've done, you've worn several hats, from an actor to a director. And tell us a little bit about who you are, where you started, and where you're at.
Well, I started as a dancer. I never had any desire in a million years to ever be an actress or actor. But I had a surgery on my leg my senior year of high school, which put me in bed. And through a series of circumstances, someone dared me to audition for the drama division of the Juilliard School. I had been intending to audition for the dance division prior to my surgery. And so I did, and I received a full scholarship to the Juilliard School of Drama.
Wow.
And so
Congrats.
I abandoned my college career and went to New York City to find out what acting was, because I had never acted before in my life before I went to Juilliard. And when I got there, a man found me in a local cafe where a bunch of us were gathered, and he became my agent for the next 10 years. And that was
Wow.
the fourth day in New York City. So
Wow.
it all happened very spontaneously without my doing anything. A year before I was at Juilliard with an agent, I was thinking maybe my legs were going to be amputated and I was never going to walk again. So it all turned around in a year. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. It's just, so then you started acting, right?
Well, I was at school, and I was with a lot of other students who'd been acting since they were about 3 years old.
Okay.
And so it was a little confusing to me, and it was a little scary because I kept thinking they were going to come up and say, "Hey, we just found out you've never been on stage before."
Yes, I can imagine that. Oh, Julia, especially because it's like the whole industry is like that, and what Cindy was saying, don't compare. It's all about competition, right? It's all about comparing, and you're taught as a kid to compete.
Oh, but I had no desire to be an actor, so exactly. I had no competition. I was like, no, go, yeah, let them do it. Let them do it. It's fine. I don't
That's wonderful.
No.
That's the secret to life, Lisa. That's the secret to life.
Well, and they kept giving me leads, so I was like, okay. And then the first summer between my first and second years at Juilliard, my agent got me an audition for something, and I got my first professional role, which was the television show that you mentioned in my bio, The Country Girl. And it was sort of astounding because they paid me a lot of money.
Oh, I believe
and
it.
I was like, wow, they're paying me for 1 week as much money as it would take me to earn all year, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is sort of interesting. And they would fly me first class. We filmed up in Toronto, and they put me, in a first class suite, and they gave me money to spend. And I thought, this is like a really nice life, I really like this. And so I was doing what the director told me, very fine director, a man named Paul Bogart, who's deceased now. And I will say, especially if I look at what I did, that I was terrible. I literally had no idea what I was doing. And so I remember his direction to me was, talk faster, just talk faster, just talk faster. And I thought, so I was like, just trying to talk as fast as I can because he was kept telling me to talk faster. So at a certain point, as I watched these veteran actors around me know what they were doing, I thought, well, and this is actually answering your second question, I thought, wow, you know what? There's something to be said for this as an art form, and I absolutely know nothing about it. So I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to go back for my second year at Juilliard and actually learn how to be an actor. Because I have to say, the first year I was just like, it was just a free place to go and get away from home. So I went back the second year knowing that I wanted to learn how to be an actor. I still didn't know I wanted a career as an actor, but I knew that there was something about it that they knew that I didn't, that I wanted to know.
That's cool. That's cool. And that's what makes it real, That's how you tap into the magic. When you say, what's that,
Yeah, they were.
Wow, that's, is somebody doing your bio of your play of your life? Because that's a really cool story.
It's much, much longer. I'm trying to
imagine. No, it's great. It's really great.
Cindy's going to write it, right, Cindy? You're going to write it.
No, Cindy. Next project. I would find it fascinating, especially, and you know what? I work with a director who was a dancer and really had no idea that she wanted to be an actress or a director, but then she decided that, which brings us to further in the same question. When did you decide that you were going to direct?
Okay. Well, we have to go back before I became an actor.
Okay.
So in high school, because I was a dancer, I did pieces for the high school talent show where I would dance. And because of this, and because my friend Mandy Seeley and I did this piece called Underwear by Lawrence Ferlinghetti when I was in 11th grade, and it was the big hit of the talent show. My mother, who's a very interesting person, called around without telling me to all the local theaters in the area of Washington, D.C. area, and found that there was a theater company that was looking for interns. And she literally woke me up one morning and said, okay, I'm taking you and we're going to go meet some people at a theater company. And I said, huh? What? And she was like, yeah, come on, get dressed. Hurry. We have to go. We have an appointment. I'm like, I had no idea what she was talking about. So we drove out to this place in Rockville, Maryland, run by a woman named June Ellen, who is now deceased. But she was a very magical, special person. And she said, okay, walk up on stage. And so I'm standing on stage. She said, so what can you do? I said, I can dance. And she said, okay, so show us something that you can dance. And I was like, oh, okay. So I did some dance moves. She said, can you do anything else? I said, well, my friend and I just did this thing called Underwear for the talent show. She said, okay, do that. So I did both parts. I did both our parts. And she said, great, you're in the company. And I'm like, okay, what company? And because I was still like asleep. My mother, I was not, it was a Saturday and my mother had woken me up. So she said, okay, so you'll show up Monday morning at blah, blah, blah time. And I said, oh, I can't show up here. I don't have a car. I don't drive. She said, you don't have a car? You don't drive? Where do you live? I said, well, da, da, da. And he said, well, then you'll just live with me. And I said, huh? What? So I moved in with Mrs. Allen, and this is before the surgery on my leg. I moved in with Mrs. Allen, and she was a director. And so I spent the summer following her around being her assistant director. And I thought, oh, well, this could be really fun. I love this. This is so much fun. So when I was then the blah, 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 looking at colleges, when I decided that I was going to go to college and major in mathematics or physics, I thought I should go to a college that has a good theater department, because then I could have, as sort of a hobby, I could direct plays, and that would be fun. So that was my...
How it started.
That's how it started. And then when I got into the business, though, right away, nobody would let me direct. Yeah, nobody. Because I was a woman, I was pretty, I was young. It was like, are you out of your mind? Yeah. And I was like, oh, no. I really, this is my passion. This is what I do. No, acting? No, directing. And Fred Zinnemann, who directed me and Julia, who's one of our great directors.
Absolutely.
He directed me in my first film. And our very first day of filming, we had to shoot a scene with stunt doubles where the young Lily and the young Julia, as stunt doubles, had to cross a log. And in the scene, Lily falls, Julia saves her, yay, heroine, right? So the first thing that we shot in that film was me and the young Lily walking to this log, and then they had the stunt doubles do the actual stunt. And I was bored and I didn't know what I was doing, so I went down into the water. They were down in the water shooting up. They all had waders on, which are those rubber things that
are big rubber pants
at the waist, right? And I was watching them shoot it, and then Mr. Zinnemann said, print. Great, and everybody was packing up and walking up the hill with the equipment, and he turned around, he saw me there, and he said, so what did you think of that? And I said, well, it wasn't very good. And he he said, why not? And I said, because I wouldn't have done it that way. It didn't make sense to me. And he said, how would you have done it? And so I told him, and meanwhile, the crew is up the hill. He's like, come back. So they all came back down. They reshot it. And this time, instead of condescending to me, he turned around, he said, what'd you think of it this time? And I looked him right in the eye. I said it was better. And from that moment on, he called me his little assistant director, and he took me everywhere. Every day I was on the call sheet, and we would discuss scenes.
Nice.
What he was going to shoot. Nice. And so, I thought that, but nobody would still let me direct.
But do you realize that that's what theatrical angels are? Angels have been in your life since day one, and you get these people, come live with me. Even your mother was an angel that just directed your path, and that's the magical path. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So what was the one moment when you realized that this was your passion, that you were going to not do anything else?
I don't think I've ever had that moment.
Well, it's coming, probably, right?
Well, I probably will die before it comes. I've spent my life living an artistic life. I will say that. I paint. I do all kinds of things, and I like having a free life. I like having choice. I like being able to follow instincts. I like, so I don't like being hemmed in. So if someone says, you're only a director, or you're only an actor, or you're only a painter, I'd be like, no, don't do that to me. Goodbye.
You're an artist.
Go that way. So, yeah, like that.
He without art has no heart, right? That's what it's about. That's your passion, you know? Your advice for a newcomer, somebody's just starting out, maybe getting into town from college, what would you tell them?
Well, I agree with Cindy, only I would be a little more concise. I would just say, you are unique. Do not try to be anybody else. Follow your heart, follow your instincts, be true to yourself. And I would say, do not take a branding course. Do not take an audition for the camera course. I get really pissed off at these young actors who think that by taking an audition course, they are taking an acting course.
Oh, yeah.
Or that by taking a branding course, they are taking an acting course. I will say that audition courses and branding courses will get you a job. It will not give you a career.
Exactly.
So if you want a career in this business, other than, let's say, as an influencer, which is a whole career in itself right now, and influencers are called actors now. It's not my definition of an actor, but they are called actors. And they have huge followings, and because they have huge followings, they are, they get to star in films even. But that's not acting to me. I think everyone in the world has at least one great role in them, that they could do and probably win an Academy Award with the right director and the right script. But that's not a career either. So I would say find the best acting teacher you can find with a group of fellow actors. Do not work alone. Work with other actors in a class with great acting teachers, and stay true to yourself.
It's a collaborative art form, and you bring me to my final question for both of you, and you can feel free to jump in, because I had this conversation just today with some people about the future of our theater. One of the things that I think, and that I talked to several friends about, maybe this is a complete new golden age. Maybe we're going to start over. We all know that there's a lot of what you call the influencers that really aren't artists. And they've taken over our industry, creating not art, but something artificial. And I feel that the spirit of theater has been being snuffed out slowly. And maybe the universe is taking it back. I mean, I don't know, that there's so much stuff out there that just keeps replicating, and that's not what it's about. And you're right. The mantra today is work alone, be the best, you are you. And like you said, no, it's about the group. It's the collaborative. It's, and it's about supporting each other.
Yeah.
So Cindy,
I kind of feel like that too. Like I'm very much, simpatico with what you're saying, because people talk about like, well, is Broadway going to survive? Is Broadway going to come back? I'm like, Broadway has never been here for women.
Absolutely.
I mean, for women writers, 10 or 12% at the best. Mm-hmm. And so, like, let's reinvent theater, and let's stop making it this commercialized product that only serves a small group of artists and a limited audience, and start talking about how we can make theater inclusive of women, of non-binary people, of people of color, And, there's a long history of other kinds of theater. So maybe there's a way, you mentioned Judith Malin, a perfect example. But, one of maybe the first off-Broadway theater was started by Eva Legalian, on 14th Street, the Civic Rep, and something nobody seems to be talking about now, but the Federal Theater Project that was part of the pulling us out of the Depression, headed by Hallie Flanagan, and then all the theaters around the city, that are small and that don't get the big money and the big tourist trade, but whether it's here that's headed by a woman, or La Mama, started by Ellen Stewart, now headed by a man and a woman. And I think to start, this is a time when we're on pause for when we can start re-envisioning theater, maybe something that is more, that makes women in particular, has been a lot of my activism in theater, has been around women in theater. And, I know Connie knows, but we would stage these little parades around the Broadway district saying, women stage the world. How many women writers do you see? How many women directors? And it's been pathetic. And it's been really hard to break down those walls. Well, in this time period when so many people are suffering, those walls are being broken down without, in another way. So let's rebuild them when we're inclusive.
Yeah, I agree. Lisa?
Cindy is so smart and she's so articulate. So I just go, thank you.
Absolutely. It's interesting, but how do you see theater? How do you see film transpiring? I mean, what do you think?
I'll tell you right now, I think the film industry and the theater industry, everyone's scared. They're just scared right now, and it all will come back, because we certainly came back from the 1918 flu, and we certainly came back from other times when our society has been decimated by different things in different eras along the way. So we will come back, but when? I don't know.
Yeah,
because
it's been predicted that the 21st century would be spiritual or not at all. And as far as spirit, I mean, we are spirit beings in terms of the spirit of the game, the spirit of the play, the creative spirit. My religion is theater, and I feel this spirit in theater, the spirit of collaboration, the spirit of love, the spirit of the play. And right now, you're going to think I'm crazy, but Rachel knows this, our producer Rachel, she's listening. I feel like we're being tested. I feel like we're in a play right now, and it depends on the choices we make, just like on the stage. And Shakespeare said it best, all the world's a stage. But I think we're in Beckett's play right now. I think we're in Waiting for Godot. Just, okay, is it going to come? Is it going to stop? What's happening? Are we going to be able to go back to work? But it's quite an experience, And I don't know. I don't know.
Let me just add that the people who are creating and the people who are creative are still creating right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. So whether it comes out as a theater play where we have an audience and we have actual actors on stage kissing, touching, fighting, or on film kissing, touching, fighting, or whether we end up being at this Zoom platform where people can't really touch, which is horrible for me being a centralist and loving touch. We're going to create something. We're going to create something that is still going to touch people, that is going to awaken people, that's going to make people think, that's going to bring people together, even if it's not in the way that we have seen it in the past or we can envision now.
Brilliant. Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have to be creative. If we're not creative, we're destructive. You know, whether we're overeating or thinking bad thoughts, you got to create. I've been very prolific during this time. I just feel it. You know, I feel like something's going on. And a lot of writers that I've talked to are like that. Cindy, how about you? Been writing it all? Or?
I've been writing through it. Yeah. But I think, you know, not necessarily some new stuff, but also I've been drawn to some pieces that are older pieces. One has to do with a woman who's in prison, and it felt like I really wanted to look at that at this time. But you know, I think that this is also an opportunity to expand the pool of ideas, just like you're doing with, you know, podcast, and with maybe theater will be at a drive-in, like the movies. You know, maybe find Ken Lezebnik did a show last year at the auto show in Minneapolis, where people went around in a cart and watched the scenes, you know, that were spread apart. I do walking tour. I do a walking tour, activist walking tour, and it's a set form of theater where we're moving and we do text along the way. So maybe this is a time to like start expanding, you know, our thinking, and you know, we've gone through, and that died, you know, somewhat. We had TV, and that's gone through its metamorphosis, and now maybe we have, you know, ways to like re-engage with our creativity and not feel like it's all corporatized. Absolutely. But there are ways of like opening up our imaginations and using the tools that we have, whether it's the internet or computer or phone or a watch. You know, maybe you could watch a play on a watch. You know, wouldn't that be fun?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And one other thing that you made me think of, advertising. You know, it struck me as horrendous when I realized as a young woman that all the content that we were making was completely to feed corporate America so they would pay for advertising, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, nobody can pay for advertising right now because everything is coming out free, right? So maybe we can do away with all this corporate greed and, you know, advertising, and we can just create just for the sake of creating. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Oh, that would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. Lead the bandwagon, Lisa. That would be great. That's
and create for the sake of helping people through this time period and the time that's going to come, because it's also going to be difficult. And there are so many people that are hurting. And you know, the Federal Theater Project did these amazing shows where they reached out. They did them on barges and, you know, parks, and
you know, what you just said. People are going to be hurting. Judith Molina said to me, I said, okay, Judith, tell me why. Her final question was, tell me why we should do theater. And she said, to relieve human suffering. Relieve human suffering, if we can. And I think that's why we do it. You know, I mean, I think that's the attempt of it, or, you know, whether we're laughing or we're crying. Beckett said it, you know, that it's the same. We're having a creative release, and we're connecting, you know, the communion between the actors and the audience. So, But getting back to the play next week is our play by Cindy, directed by Lisa. It's called Spyglass. Can you tell us a little about it, Cindy?
Me. Well, Spyglass is about a woman journalist who is investigating a cold case murder, and she knocks on the door of a woman that she thinks might have some information as a source or an interviewee, and gets quite an experience than she expects. The tables get turned on her. There's a lot of secrets going on, and she's sort of forced to reveal some things that are happening in her life. And I wouldn't say it's a journalist's nightmare, exactly like, you know, actor's nightmare, but it's, you know, I think as in everything I do, I am interrogating the world and also interrogating my own part in it. And like, when do you cross a line, or that's a moral line or an ethical line, and how do you reconcile with that? So this actually, I call this, I did this book called Mockery of Justice, which was a reinvestigation of a murder. And in the course of it, I reinvestigated maybe about 10 or 12 other murders that might have been connected. And so some of them never made the book.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I had a particular experience where I approached this woman, and it was so painful for her. And it never did make the book. But she had quite a story and quite a life. So how we get our information, what we do with that information, how we evaluate that, and how we reconcile things with our own sense of values. Those were the things I was thinking about. But I don't know what Lisa thinks. She might have something.
Lisa, what do you think?
I agree. Cindy, that was great. I would say that, it's a two-character play about two very different women who discovered themselves in each other.
Well said. Well said. How did you two meet? How did you and Cindy meet, Lisa?
The New Circle Theater Company, which is an offshoot of the Circle Repertory Lab, which is an offshoot of the Circle Repertory Theater Company, which was a major off-Broadway house in, I guess, through the 90s. Cindy, you asked me to direct your play, maybe? Or somebody put us together? I don't know.
We met. I had a play that they put on Slot. They do some in-house plays called Sandbox, which are quite ingenious, where you get to, the actors are off book, and you get about 6 performances, and you actually get to see a play on its feet. It's beyond reading, beyond workshop. You maybe don't have a set and a costume designer, although we might have.
We kind of sort of did.
One of the directors, I didn't have a director. One of the artistic directors said, I have an idea. And so he, introduced me to Lisa and I, and we had met once, I think, in a playwrights group, and did a little actors thing, and she supported it. So I liked her already.
Cool. I just loved Cindy, and we hit it off.
That's the way it happens. Yeah. Stanislavski and Chekhov, actors and directors and playwrights, it's something magical that happens. And I wouldn't give up this life for all the money in the world, all the travel, anything. This is why I do what I'm doing tonight, because I think you people need to be heard. Artists that are artists from the heart. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful experience. And we're going to share it with the world. So thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, I hope people come in and watch Cindy's play.
Oh, absolutely.
We have 2 incredible actors, Julie Bushell and Anna Cole, and I think they're going to be amazing.
Good. That's
So,
exciting. Well, they'll have a lot of chance. Next week is live on Facebook and at 9 p.m. And we made it nice and late, so you don't have an excuse. No, it's but it's nice and available time, and it'll also be broadcast on YouTube and Spreaker and podcast.com, New Earth Radio. So I thank you, ladies, very much for being here. I wanted to
thank you, Connie.
Cindy and I met through the League of Professional Women in Theater, and I think all these organizations, I started with the Now organization when I was a freshman in college. They asked me to write for them, and I was like, like you, Lisa, what? It's like it just fell into my lap. It's like, oh my God, the Now organization, and that's how I became a feminist. That's how I started my whole path, and so when you talk about redefining the theater, the new theater, the theater of the 21st century, I remember going to a talk at Princeton in 2009. And it was, were you there?
I was at that.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah. And it was so powerful. It was about women in theater in the 21st century. And we realized we had a path. I was totally appalled because there were students there who thought the women's movement was over. And it's like, no, we're just starting. You know, I mean, we're in phase 3, but there's still a lot to be said, you know, and especially if you're an artist and you're pretty and you're smart. Oh, you know, it's like, whoa, you know, nobody will hire you. Nobody will take you seriously, but we pursue. And I think it's going to change big time because I think this is the year of the mother, the Earth Mother. And I think this is the 21st century. And you know what they say, hindsight is 2020. This is Airplay 2020. We will see you ladies next week. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.